Coming up, beating the heat. 3 things you can do to keep cool.
Make sure you have your hat on that can keep you protected from the sun's rays. Keep your water with you.
Then Learning Hubs. A program in North Carolina is offering students the extra help they need after school and much more.
I like that you can go in and just be yourself, you know. Honestly, the teachers, they really engage with the students.
Now I'm having straight A's.
Also, Juneteenth. We'll take a look at the history behind this federal holiday, plus life lessons just in time for Father's Day.
What do you think one of the best lessons that golfer your dad has given you?
I would say one of the best lessons that golf has given me is honestly just is patience.
Our pal Jackson Daly speaks to pro golfer Justin Thomas about what he learned from his dad on and off the golf course. And the sweet stuff. Kids across the country have joined forces this month to serve up lemonade for a very good reason.
You don't want kids around your age to be hurting and not be able to do any of the fun things you can do. And so if you can help them a little bit by selling a few cups of lemonade, that's pretty important to me.
This is NBC Nightly News, Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. I'm Lester Holt. It's great to be with you guys. I'm back here at our Rockefeller Center studios in New York this week. We have a lot to share, including an after-school program that's providing extra help for some students who fell behind during the pandemic. Plus, the super moon explained. And a bit later on, we'll say hello to these new animals making their debut at the Houston Zoo just in time for summer. But first, let's begin with a story very much in the news right now, and that is the severe weather hitting parts of the country. One of the country's most popular national parks, Yellowstone, was forced to close its entrances due to severe flooding this week. Meanwhile, some states have been experiencing unseasonably hot weather with heat alerts that stretch from the Midwest to the South and beyond. For more on that and what you can do to keep cool in high temperatures, we're joined by our pal, Dr. John Torres. Dr. John, always great to have you on. First off, what's one of the most important things you can do to keep cool, keeping in mind that people want to be active when they go out?
And it's important to be active even in the middle of this hot weather, but you want to be cautious when you do it. And the number one thing, the main tip, is to stay hydrated. Take some liquid out there with you, particularly if you can get ice water like I have here, and drink it throughout the day as many times as you can, because keeping hydrated is one of the big keys to keeping yourself safe and those around you safe during these heat waves.
And I know I've had that dehydration when it really sneaks up on you when you don't drink a lot, so really important advice. What else can kids and parents do?
One of the things to know is when it's going to be the hottest during the day, and that's the time you either want to be in the shade, you want to take breaks during the things you're doing, or you simply want to stay inside in an air-conditioned area. 10 to 4 o'clock is the time period when it's the hottest, and the hottest part of that 10 to 4 o'clock tends to be that 2 to 4 o'clock range when the sun has already baked everything throughout the day. It's going to be very hot, so think of doing things after that or before that to keep safe.
What's the third thing we can do, Doctor, when we're experiencing these extreme temperatures?
One thing you want to make sure is that you look at everybody else and make sure everybody's staying safe, especially if you have elderly people around, grandparents, for instance. If they start to look like they're having problems because of the heat, make sure they get inside, make sure they get medical help. But you and those around you, certain things you want to do. Number one, we talked about the water, but make sure you have sunscreen as well. Make sure you're wearing your sunglasses. Make sure you have your hat on that can keep you protected from the sun's rays. Keep your water with you. And then most importantly, enjoy the day.
You look like you are ready, my friend. Really important advice. Thanks for sharing it, Dr. John.
You bet.
Also making news this week, the supermoon. On Tuesday, a supermoon appeared in the night sky. So what do they call it, a supermoon? Well, it's when the moon is full and happens to be at its closest distance to Earth in its orbit. It's really pretty cool. I want to turn now to one of my favorite topics, education. We know this school year has probably been challenging for a lot of you with having to resettle back into a classroom after remote learning. With the help of our sponsor, the Walton Family Foundation, we learned about one program in North Carolina that has helped some students get the extra support they needed and a lot more.
My sophomore year, the pandemic hit and I was doing okay, but I'd rather be at school.
coming back to school, it was still like kind of different, especially since it was my first year of high school last year.
For many students across the country, the return to the classroom at the start of this school year was a challenge after months of remote learning during the pandemic.
It was a pretty big change. I had to get used to the whole online thing.
Last 2 years has been a lot of confusion for our students, a lot of apprehension. Students are having to learn how to get back into the swing of going to school. A lot of our students, had a significant drop in their scores and just because they weren't receiving that content. Some of them didn't do well with the virtual learning aspect of it as well.
To help address the learning loss problem, Guilford County Schools in North Carolina launched Learning Hubs, an after-school program offering extra help and support for students.
We're a blend of volunteer and voluntold. So some of our students are basically put into our hub through their teachers. But a lot of our students come on a volunteer basis.
At Eastern Guilford High School, some 250 students have taken part in the twice-a-week program this year, where they receive personalized tutoring and so much more.
So let's see, we're going to simplify. Do we have anything to add to the 36?
We offer every discipline in the hub, and we have support tutors from every area, every content area. So we allow students to set goals in the beginning, and then we track those goals over time. And we're holding the students accountable for those.
It helped me have more time to do my school stuff. It helps me learn more than in class.
I like that you can go in and just be yourself.
So remember, we did positive, negative, or no.
The teachers, they really engage with the students. They really make sure everybody's doing work, getting better.
Students also received meals and transportation home.
The hub has become a safe haven for a lot of our students, and they just really tap into our staff. I think they're really comfortable. I think that it creates a good meal for the students who we don't know what they're facing once they get home. A lot of our students, I think, a large portion of our students are living in poverty.
And there are incentives.
We provide a plethora of incentives. So one primarily is the $200 stipend that's tied into student attendance. So as long as our students attend at least 80% of the time that from when they start at the hub to the very end, every student will receive a $200 stipend.
I come almost every day. I've only missed one day so far.
In addition to helping kids learn in a different place, the program also offers counseling services, giving them a place to share their feelings, something 11th grader Tariq Boyd sees as a big plus.
One thing I like is my counselor in there. She helped me a lot, Ms. Bostic. If I'm not having a good day or she don't see me acting myself or whatever, I can go talk to her and then she can make it a lot better.
Tariq says the Learning Hub also offers him a quiet place to study.
It's very quiet. You can focus in there. Some of my classes, it just be a lot of noise.
And for Sedona Norris, the Learning Hub not only has helped her with a class for college, but also with her anxiety and socializing skills.
I definitely think it's the teachers. They will go around and making sure you're on duty and helping if you need it, but they will leave you alone if they can see that you're doing fine.
It is a kind of social thing, but at the same time, it's structured so that they know that 2 hours is spent learning, as well as we can sit back and kind of relax and have fun.
As the school year comes to a close, the teachers and educators involved have noticed a big difference.
You know what sodium chloride is, don't you? What's that? The students that don't ask the questions, they feel more comfortable in Learning Hub because it is a small group environment. I've seen increases in the knowledge of those kids within the Learning Hub.
The key element is really spending that one-on-one time to help the student.
I think that the students are, a walking testimony of that when we see Q3 to Q4 and how those grades have significantly improved. And some of our teachers express that as well, how the hub has really supported their students and they see a different student when they come back during the day.
I had a C average, now I'm having straight A's.
Students making the grades and believing in themselves.
My mom actually texted me 2 days ago telling me I got good grades and need me to keep it up.
You're seeing your child progress through the year and learning new things, which is just wonderful. As a parent, as a teacher, it's wonderful to see them grow.
Now to a holiday the country will mark on Sunday, and that's Juneteenth. Last year, President Biden signed legislation making Juneteenth a federal holiday. But what's the history behind Juneteenth? Our good friend Rahema Ellis takes a look.
It's hard to imagine that people can be owned, but that's the reality of our country's painful history. You might have learned this in school already. Black people were owned by white people. It's called slavery. Slaves were forced to work but not paid. They could be bought and sold from one slave owner to another, like property. Even their children could be taken away and sold. But in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing the slaves. However, this could not be enforced in many places until after the Civil War ended in 1865. And because they didn't have phones or the internet way back then, it took some time for the news to travel to some of the states. It was June 19, 1865, when Major General Gordon Granger and his Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, with word that the war had ended and all slaves were free.
It's deeply personal to many within the African American community because it balances and celebrates so many different ranges of emotions: freedom, grief, pride, which speaks to the experience of Black people in this country.
The next year, people started celebrating Juneteenth, a blend of the words June and 19th, to mark the end of slavery.
Celebrating Juneteenth is important because it's a unique holiday in the United States. It's the only federal holiday we have that invites us to look at emancipation and to celebrate our freedoms in a complete way.
And this celebration has continued every year around the country and world ever since.
There are books, there are organizations to look up, and one of the wonderful things is that the celebration of Juneteenth is nationwide.
We make sure that young people have access to resources to better understand the past, its implications on the future, and how they're able to make changes for the better. And this is why it's important for young people to understand this history, because it is not only Black history, it is American history.
It's an important date for all of us to remember.
All right, Rahema Ellis, thanks so much for that. Now to our Inspiring Kids series. Young folks across the country have joined together this month for a good cause, serving up lemonade to help families impacted by childhood cancer. Our friend Savannah Sellers has details.
Lemonade only has a few ingredients: lemons, sugar, and water. But sisters Devin and Chloe Jackson have a secret recipe.
Our secret special recipe for lemonade, you can't tell anyone. So our super secret recipe is that we make it with purpose, a heartfelt purpose.
They just hosted their 12th annual Lemonade Stand for Hope. The sisters from California have been selling lemonade to raise money for childhood cancer research since Devin was 5 and Chloe was just a baby. And their enthusiasm has not waned.
I'm out there, I have pom-poms, I'm yelling, I'm doing cartwheels. We are doing everything out there. And then on lemonade days, I'm so hyped in the morning. I'm like ecstatic.
They're not the only ones. The sisters' annual stand is just one of more than 1,000 across the country this month, part of Alex's Lemonade Stand's annual Lemonade Days event. The fundraiser honors Alexandra Scott. Alex was diagnosed with cancer when she was just 4 years old. When life gave her lemons, she made lemonade. Literally, she hosted a lemonade stand to raise money to find a cure for childhood cancer. Her goal was $1 million.
If enough people help with donations and go to lemonade stands, then I think we could do it.
Unfortunately, Alex passed away at the age of 8, but she did meet her goal, and her mom has kept her spirit alive through the foundation. Today, Alex's Lemonade Stand has raised more than $250 million to fund research and support families of kids with cancer.
Our son Henry was diagnosed with bilateral retinoblastoma February of 2020.
Alex's lemonade stand immediately stepped in, helping them with hotels and gas money.
With this life-altering news, we had immediate help, and it was just like a foundation that's so dear to our hearts, because it made that moment that was so dark have some light.
Now they're paying it forward. This year, 3-year-old Henry hosted his first lemonade stand.
I feel like if we could help be part of that comfort for any other family going through what we went through, we want to do it. This was our first lemonade stand, but it's something that we plan on doing, until forever, because we know what it did for our family. And if we could help give that back to other families, we're all for it.
Hey y'all, we're the Corville family.
The Corville girls in Louisiana have known a few children with cancer.
Catch it, catch it.
They've been raising money through their lemonade stand for over a decade now.
It's just really tough to think about that in a different world that could be one of us instead of just somebody that we know. And I just can't imagine that, and I really want to be able to help with getting rid of that so that every kid can have a childhood.
You don't want kids around your age to be hurting and not be able to do any of the fun things you can do. And so if you can help them a little bit by selling a few cups of lemonade, that's pretty important.
Kids all across the country serving up lemonade and hope to find a cure.
Okay, Savannah, thanks very much. Time now for our field trip of the week. Let's head to Texas, where some new animals are making their debut at the Houston Zoo. This orangutan just recently stepped out in public for the first time. Animal care experts say he is playful, curious, and friendly. Meanwhile, these 2 crown lemurs also just arrived at the zoo and will soon begin being introduced with the ring-tailed lemurs. We should note the Houston Zoo supports 33 wildlife conservation projects in 17 countries around the world. Finally, Father's Day is this weekend, and it's a day to celebrate all the dads, granddads, and special people in our lives. And in the world of sports, there's a father-son duo who are hoping to inspire the next generation of golfers, along with teaching all of us some important life lessons on and off the golf course. 29-year-old Justin Thomas is a professional golfer. And guess what, kids? He learned the game of golf from his dad, Mike Thomas, who also is his coach. Our pal Jackson Daly had a chance to catch up with Justin Thomas just in time for Father's Day.
It's an unbelievable sport in that sense. The relationships, the places, just the memories that you create. There's a reason why there's nothing like going out and playing golf with your dad. I think that was always something my dad hammered down my throat, is just to enjoy what you're doing. If it's golf, great. If it's something else, that's fine too.
What is like your earliest memory of just golfing in general?
Probably as I was maybe like 7, 8 years old, when I was running around with my dad and I was chasing our dog at the time or chasing the golf cart, whatever it was. But we used to take trips. My dad would play in some tournaments and I would just kind of follow him around.
How quickly did you get the hang of golfing? I mean, it's a hard sport.
It is, yeah. It frustrates me still to this day,
Yeah.
But I just always enjoyed it. And I played a lot of other sports as a kid, but I wasn't really any good at them. So I realized if I wanted to be something at any kind of sport, it needed to be golf, and started taking that a little bit more seriously.
At what age would you say golf, you realized that golf was your sport and that's what you wanted to do?
I would say when I was 8 years old, believe it or not, I played in an international event. I played in a handful of stuff around Kentucky where I grew up, some stuff in Ohio, but once I played in my first international event, played against kids from across the country, across the world, and I lost in a playoff. That was a pretty good start for me.
Yeah, I know your dad's your coach. What was it like? Because my dad's my coach, and sometimes he can get me a little mad, always giving me
It doesn't
pointers.
change, by the way.
It doesn't? Okay.
Yeah, I'm 29, and
Yeah.
it still happens from time to time.
So what was that like growing up with your dad as your coach?
It was good. I mean, like you said, you're at a fun age because you're just going to keep growing, you're going to keep maturing, you're going to get older, and you know, there comes a point when you realize you're like, all right, my dad really is looking out for what's best for me. He's not just saying stuff to be my dad, but he also just made sure I was having fun.
What do you think like one of the best lessons that golf or your dad has like given you?
I would say one of the best lessons that golf has given me is honestly just is patience, and I'm very fortunate, you know, once you get to a certain level, you get to go to some unbelievable places, meet some unbelievable people, you know, I mean, do some unbelievable things, and yeah, you're good, Dad, come on in.
My dad's done that when I've interviewed, you just like be walking in the background.
Yeah.
Come on.
Just, yeah, so I mean, very fortunate to get to do what I do, and once you get to different levels, you go to some unbelievable places, you get to meet some unbelievable people, and you really just get to experience a lot of things that I never thought I'd get to experience. So honestly, taking it in. I know that's a very broad thing, but it's great.
So when I was a little kid and I played golf, and that's weird to say little kid, but I...
How old are you now?
13.
Yeah, little kid.
Yeah. I hit a goose.
You hit a goose.
And I started bawling, and my parents still make fun of me today. Like, have you ever like hit something weird?
Oh, I haven't hit anything weird. I remember I first broke a club on accident, same sort of thing. I started crying because I realized that what I'd done wasn't very good, so.
So for kids who are like trying to get into golf, because I got into golf because of my dad, you got into golf because of your dad, but if kids don't have dads that like to golf, what do you think is like the best way to kind of get into it?
I think just to be able to enjoy it, and it's not a job. When you're 13 years old, you shouldn't look at golf as a job, and you should be enjoying that. So, but I want to hear, what do you think? Why golf is the most important thing for you getting into it?
I mean, it's like you're going out there for, it's a long time, and it's like kind of like a commitment to go out there, especially if it's hot out like in the summer. So it's like, you have to be there for like the right reasons. Thanks for talking with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jackson.
Jackson, thanks so much. And also big thanks to Jackson's dad, Carson Daly, and all our friends at the Today Show for bringing us that great story. Happy Father's Day. Well, that's going to do it for us parents. Just a reminder, if your child has a question about any topic in the news, email a video to us at nightlynewskids@nbcuni.com, and we'll try to answer them in an upcoming episode. And you can also follow us on Instagram @NightlyKids. Thanks for watching, everybody, and remember to take care of yourself and each other. So long.